Hey guys, it's Jagged Josh, and I'm with my brother Gabe, and today we're gonna talk about something. Oh, turn my phone on vibrate. So what's up, man?
What's up? Not much, man. What's up with you?
Not much. Chilling, working, doing my thing.
Chilling like a villain.
Working,
getting that bread.
Yeah, I'm trying.
Same, bro. Trying to find some clients. Trying to get some work done.
Yeah.
What's going on, man? What's
Not much, man. A little tired. So
tired?
Yeah. So if it's not a long episode, then forgive me. I'm kind of not in the mood, but
It's all
I'm
good,
doing
bro.
it anyway.
It's all good, bro. It's all good.
So today's topic, today's something.
Yeah, what are we talking about today? What's our something?
So, well, you asked me. You saw it already. So, yeah, we write down what we talk about. Today's topic is Flash animation / Flash games, like the whole internet culture behind Flash. I know this is something that we could definitely speak about because we grew up on Flash.
Yeah, for sure. And unfortunately, it's not a big part of it's not a part of culture anymore.
If anyone doesn't know what we're talking about Adobe Flash, which is now known as Adobe Animate.
Bro, you saying if anyone doesn't know what we're talking about made me feel so old.
No, yeah, dude.
Bro, is that for
it's
real?
True. There's
like there are people who don't know what Adobe Flash is.
Yes,
I'm
exist.
old, bro.
Yeah, bro, we're getting older, man.
That's funny. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it used to be Adobe Animate used to be Adobe Flash, and it was essentially the same thing, except it was similar to JavaScript, where it was like its own program / plugin thing that the internet would have. That was like a universal thing that people used for making videos or games or pretty much almost anything, like movies even. It could be like in that realm, and it was like a universal thing that the internet had. Like Flash was like the go-to software for creating content.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I don't really think there is another analog for that right now, or something else, but it was kind of like not the only, but it was like kind of like the number one content like system that you'd see, and it was like everywhere. Like every game site, every every site that had like animations. I'm thinking of things like Newgrounds and stuff. Like it was all Flash,
Yep, everything. Man,
that is a throwback. I mean, I remember. I actually I never really got into like doing like writing stuff coding wise with Adobe Flash, but I actually remember that there was a few websites where you could make your own kind of Flash animations and games inside Flash itself. Like it would use Flash to run essentially like a interface that you could use to make Flash video games and Flash animations.
There was a few websites with like games like that.
Yeah, like stuff where you like build your own, like you have your characters that you could select and move them around and stuff. And I did get into that. I didn't really get into like the behind the scenes of it, but I did mess around with a couple of things like that.
Yeah, same. It was fun.
Yeah, man. I was also a huge fan of the Flash game websites. The two that came to mind are obviously Newgrounds, but even before that, I used to play on like Addicting Games. I don't know if you remember that site. I used to play on that a lot. And these were sites, for anyone who has no idea what we're talking about, these were websites that I don't know if they're around anymore. I'm sure Newgrounds does something else now. Like it's been remodeled. I'm not 100% sure on that. I could probably visit it while I'm talking. But back in the day, like in the early days of like MySpace, when social media was like just barely taking off, Kids in school, that's kind of what they did. They would go on websites that they just had a variety of games. Think of like the App Store or like the Google Play Store with like all of these like little like mobile games, like different puzzle games and different adventure games. It was kind of like that, but it's just a website, and you would play right from your browser.
Yeah.
And so I used
there were a lot of sites that did that.
Yeah. So those were kind of the two that I used to use like a lot, and like I used to use addicting games. Like I'd be in the like in computer class in school, and I would pull that up and start playing it to distract myself. While the teacher was talking about whatever. Yeah. And Newgrounds also had a lot of Flash-based games, but they also had Flash-based animations, where people would just create like little shorts. Joe Mari 65, thanks for the follow. I have a idea who that is.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for the follow. I appreciate it. But yeah, so the Newgrounds also had like animations, and I feel like, and you might completely disagree with me on this, but I feel like when we were growing up, these websites that had these little like Flash-based animations were kind of like early iterations of things like Vine and TikTok. Except they weren't really based on people. It was just based on, cartoons. But it was kind of that, like the precursor to that kind of humor, that like 6-second brief humor. There were a lot of like shorts that you could find on like Newgrounds and stuff that kind of had that same kind of feel, like that same like really short but like comedy based, sometimes slapstick, sometimes more bright humor, but I feel like that's kind of like the precursor to that kind of stuff. I'm checking it out right now.
Yeah. Sorry, I was waiting for the plane to go by.
No, you're good.
Yeah, I'd say so. Like, I feel like you could say that about like any website that was like Newgrounds or like stuff like that. Although Newgrounds was a little unique because it was like it had games and videos.
Yeah,
and like people did stuff like that. I think
that was
it was probably the most popular, definitely.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, once it took off and people knew about it, it kind of like swept websites like Addicting Games like totally under the rug. And I did just check, and it looks like Newgrounds is still around for anyone who wants to go check it out. Looks like they still have some movies and some games. It all looks like it's still animation based, and it might still be Flash based, but I know for a fact that Flash is no longer bundled with web browsers, and Google Chrome kind of discontinued bundling Flash into the browser. So now it's probably all handled server side, where you don't have to download anything to interact with this stuff. But yeah, I think that was kind of an interesting move. And, I'm sure you have a lot of topics that you want to talk about, but before we get into it, I actually am curious to know, like, what's your impression of kind of what, of that decision, I guess, to stop continuing Flash?
I don't know. It was sad only because like it was something we grew up with, and it kind of like molded our childhoods.
Yeah.
I don't really care. I mean, technology is advancing, and I don't, Flash is kind of dated if you think about it.
Yeah.
I don't really care. I mean, it just sucks,
Yeah. Yeah, I feel you. I'm sure that there were a lot of security reasons and other reasons to discontinue using Flash, and I'm sure it's kind of dipped in popularity. So I'm sure it was just also a way to cut back on how like the file size for Chrome and stuff. But yeah, I think I echo that sentiment. Technology advances, technology moves on, and I think that sometimes that's for the best.
Yeah, definitely. So, do you have any like favorite Flash games or Flash videos or Flash sites or whatever?
You're right. This really, you made a comment earlier before we started that like the whole episode was gonna be like a nostalgia thing, and you're 100% right, bro.
Yeah.
We're about to get into it now. Okay. Favorite Flash games. So, I know that this really isn't my favorite thing, but it's the first thing that comes to mind whenever I think about a Flash-based game or a Flash-based movie or Newgrounds in general. And you might know what I'm talking about. If I say Madness,
Yeah.
do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, dude.
Bro, okay.
You just dug up an old memory.
Yeah, I know, old memory. Right?
Although it's not extremely vivid, you might have to refresh some things.
Yeah, that's totally fine. So it's really all that I can remember. Like I know for a fact I played other stuff, but whenever I talk about Flash, or I remember like the days of Flash, I think about this game called Madness, and it was a series of games, which is something that happened on Newgrounds a lot. Creators would make like a game and then make that game version 2 and then 3 and 4, and they would just keep going because it was so easy to make. But when I first was on Newgrounds, there was a game that was like I'm trying to think of the genre. I don't really know. I'm sure there's a name for this genre, but it was like a stick figure. It wasn't stick figures, but it was similar to like a stick figure shooting, fighting, killing as many enemies as you can kind of game. And it started, the first one was literally just a single screen on the computer screen, like a single flash screen. And enemies would drop down, and they would be shaped like your character, which was like a oval head and just like a
cross in the center.
Just like a crosshair, right in the middle of his head, and like no other features. And he kind of had like the Rayman thing going on with like the floating hands.
Yeah, floating arms and stuff. I remember
the
that.
body.
Yeah,
that was it was just a body and a head, and everything else was just
see that I remember.
Disembodied. Yeah, and so you would move your mouse around, and his hands would kind of follow wherever your mouse went on the screen, right? And the enemies would drop down, and then you would be able to pick up weapons that would drop down, and so that you have like swords or guns. And if you didn't have any weapons, it would just your hands. But you would move, click and drag around the screen, and his hands would follow you, and he would punch bad guys, or if you had a gun, he would shoot at them, and that was the whole game. And enemies would just fall, and you would just fight them endlessly, and it was, I don't know why, but I loved it. I thought it was amazing. And then they released several more games in the Madness series, and I might be remembering Madness 1 wrong. For anyone who's like a weird Madness fan, feel free to correct me. But that's what I remember playing. And I remember just that they made continuous games in the series, and they kind of had like this storyline.
Yeah, I think I remember that.
Without like, there was no dialogue, right? There was nothing. It was just like little flash animated scenes with this cartoon character, and he's in black and white. There's no colors. And they kind of just made up this storyline where he goes through these different levels, and there's this clown who has like red hair, and that was the only color.
Wow, I remember.
It was the only color on the screen. He had red hair, and I think he had a red nose, and he was like dressed like a clown, and he was like murdering people, and so the whole thing kind of made it seem like you were out to get this clown essentially who was murdering people. I mean, you were also murdering people, but the people that you were killing in the games were trying to kill you first. Like, they had guns. Right. They were clearly bad guys. And so I just remember that it was just like these like really basic side scroller style levels, of like, different office buildings and warehouse buildings. And it was just a 2D, side scrolling, click and shoot kind of adventure. And it was like, I don't know, I guess it was kind of like one of the only games that was like that during that time. The Flash games were kind of the only games that did that kind of stuff. At least that I had access to. I mean, I had a Game Boy Color at this point.
Yeah.
And so none of the games, like, we had like Mario, right, and Pokemon.
Yeah.
But like the games weren't really like that. Like Mario was kind of like a side scroller, but he's Mario. He's just jumping on things, right? It's not, there's no violent outlet there.
Right.
So I Madness was just really cool. just being able to do that. I think that is. I wouldn't say it probably wasn't my favorite when I was a kid, but it's the one that I look back on and remember the most now. You know.
Yeah, definitely. I feel.
What about you? What games do you remember or did you love during Flash era?
Well, I mean, certain games. I think some of them were from Newgrounds. I remember I used to love watching the Awesome series by Ego Raptor.
Oh wow, throwback, man!
Yeah,
throwback. Ego Raptor.
Aaron Hansen.
I was gonna say, isn't he on Game Grumps?
Yeah.
Yeah. Back in the day, he was a Flash animator on Newgrounds, man. When he was a youngin. That's how he got his start.
Yeah, he was like our age now.
Yeah. That was when he got his start, man. He was really popular on Newgrounds.
Yeah.
Very popular.
Extremely.
Shout out to Ego Raptor.
Yeah, for real.
But yeah, that's
I remember those videos.
I
remember you used to watch those videos a lot. I used to play some games. Trying to think. I remember this one like Flash series. I forget who made it, but it was at the time I thought it was so cool. But like when I watch it now, I'm just like, ah, man, I was a child. I think it was like Mario. Was it Mario something Z? And it was like Mario Z or something like that. And
it's like those like fan fictions that are like they try to make badasses, pardon my language, of the like different like nostalgic characters.
Yeah.
Is that what that is?
But it was like Mario, and then like Sonic was there too, like Sonic characters, and he had like similar like Super Saiyan powers, and he would go like his suit would turn yellow.
What?
It was like, yeah, it was crazy. I was like, this is amazing,
bro. That's hilarious.
I look back.
That is such a Newgrounds style thing too.
Right. It was like in that era, it was just like one of those things where you could just take two proproperties, put them together, and just think it's the coolest thing ever.
Dude, that was such a 90s.
And you know why?
Man.
It's because I feel like it didn't exist, and there was like a certain niche that people wanted fulfilled, and like, I mean, nowadays it's much different because you got like fan art and like fan fiction and like, even, and then you got like, I feel like we've really moved away from that kind of thing, at least on like a mainstream.
You mean like fan fiction property stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's still popular, but definitely not as how it used to be when it was a little bit more mainstream with like sites like Newgrounds, or even like those old T-shirts that we had where it was like, it looked like two things clashing into one, like the gangster SpongeBob, or like like you know what I mean, like those kind of designs.
That's true. That's a good point.
Yeah, we used to look at those kind of things and think, oh, that's amazing. We look at it now, it's like it's amazing, but for like the dumb reason, you know. That's why I say things like you know, like stuff like that. That's why I say it's like amazing. Like, this is awesome. Yeah. Because it's just so ridiculous.
Yeah. I think that's 100% correct, and I think that has to do with...
They're very much products of their time.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like in general, that's kind of become stigmatized to an extent, like taking someone else's property and using it. Like, I feel like I see that sometimes nowadays in like a satirical sense, where people are making fun of like, you know, big corporations' products, or like making fun of like certain properties, like Disney or something. But I feel like the only modern-ish example that I can think of that kind of does that is Kingdom Hearts, where it kind of
you're right.
It kind of has that same feeling of like taking other properties and kind of blending them. I mean, they're two specific companies. It's Disney and it's Square Enix. Mm-hmm. But it's like taking different properties of characters that don't normally interact and kind of meshing them together to kind of create this, like, I don't know, I guess a semblance of badassery, like kind of like a... At the same time, though, I say modern-ish, but even that on some level is just really cringe. Seeing Mickey in a black emo hoodie is just all kinds of weird. You know what I mean? So,
but I feel like that's why it feels weird, is because this is not the atmosphere for it. It used to be.
Right. Yeah. Now
there was an atmosphere. Yeah.
No, go ahead.
No, I'm saying that back when those things were popular, there was an atmosphere for it, and there was a need for it, and there was like people wanting that, and people took it seriously. And now it's a little bit more like, when you see like videos on YouTube where it's like Kingdom Hearts but out of context, it's like the most hilarious thing, because it's so weird and it's so out there.
Yeah, I think that you're right. I think that a lot of it was just that stuff didn't really exist, and this was like the first time that it was coming out was that era, and so people were really all about it, like reinventing these popular properties. And I think today, I think a lot of it is also just that today artists are, I think two reasons. I think number one, I think that nowadays there's that stigma of taking other people's properties, like kind of like you're stealing to a sense. I don't think that's what people care about, but I think people have a general sense of that nowadays. And I also think it's just that artists are now more equipped to express their own original content more,
and
agree. That's more encouraged, and you're more able to do that than you were back in the day. And I think maybe back in the day there was a little bit of like maybe fear or worry about being able to, like present your own creativeness. But I think now it's very, very accessible for artists to make their own characters and make their own storylines rather than borrowing from, other properties.
I think what it was that it was one of those things where the internet was kind of new and people were looking for ways to become popular.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
And people would use properties like that. I'm not saying you're wrong. Like, I kind of agree with you, but I also think that it has to do with, the popularity of it. And when you see what's popular at the time, like, oh, look, this movie just came out, or this came out, or like, I'm a really big fan of this. And then like, whether it was like newer or older properties, because like the time when like the Mario Z thing came out, both Dragon Ball and Mario were like created in the 90s. So like,
right, yeah.
It's not like they could have done it then. Yeah, it's not like they could have done it then, but whatever is like popular or relevant at the time, people would take, and then like, I think that was their way of expressing their own ideas, was to do it in these worlds that were already created. But you did have some people out there that were making Flash animation original, like Egoraptor,
right?
Like
the Madness game,
like the Madness game, like the Chapman brothers who did Homestar Runner. Like these things, like are so
throwback.
I love it. Yeah, so it's like stuff like that where people were able to do their own ideas and just roll with it.
It's really,
but even Egoraptor is kind of like he did videos where it was like based off video games. So I guess that was his way of like being riding the popular wave. But at least he like did his own animation,
Yeah. I just think it's interesting that in the modern day, you don't really like. You definitely have a lot of that, riding the hype wave, like jumping on trends. But I guess it's just that in the modern era, trends have kind of evolved past. I guess what's the newest video game? What's the newest movie that just came out? And I've kind of gone in a different direction because I mean I agree with you. It's not really the era for that, and you don't really see a lot of like, we're gonna have Mario go Super Saiyan. You don't really see that anymore, and maybe it's because those properties are dated. But I just think it's so interesting to look back and be like, yeah, that was the coolest thing.
Right. And it's like and it, to me, when it kind of strikes me as weird when people do stuff like that today, but at the same time I'm looking at it, I'm just like, you know what, that's passion, and I like that. Because it's like stuff like fan fiction or like fan art. Like I just recently got into watching Gravity Falls. It's an amazing show. I think it's a really good show.
Okay.
And like it's and then I know people would criticize me. I'm not saying people on the internet, but like I feel like even like my friends or like a family would criticize me for like watching cartoons. Like, why are you watching cartoons? Well,
What?
And then I watch a cartoon like Gravity Falls or Kim Possible or even The Simpsons, and then like you have to watch them objectively and be like, okay, you have to know in the back of your mind it's for kids, obviously, so you're gonna get that. But there's like a lot of good lessons and great animation and extremely well done writing for these cartoons.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean,
and that's why I really like it. And then it just reminds me a lot of like how I would take those kind of those cartoons that I was a fan of, or even just shows or movies, and just like make fan art and just do certain things like having like I had an idea, since Gravity Falls has to do with weird mysteries and stuff, like how cool would it be for like a Gravity Falls supernatural crossover kind of fan art. But then I'm thinking to myself, it's just like, see, this would have been cool. It would have been cool back in the day.
Back in our day, yeah. Like if something like that came out, everyone would be all over it. Like,
of course they would.
Thing. But like,
nowadays, that's so cool.
Nowadays, there's not as much of a market for that.
There's not as big as a market, but it's still, in my opinion, it still exists because
I feel like I'm still a fan of that kind of stuff, man. Like,
yeah, dude, me too.
I
like,
love the reinventing of the modern property. Like, I love it. Like, I literally live for it. Like,
yeah, dude, I'm totally here for it. Like,
I'm sorry, really quick, because I'm gonna forget about this one.
Mm-hmm.
Power Rangers. Did you see?
Yeah.
What's it called? Power Rangers. There's like I can't remember the name of it. I'll look it up in the meantime. But there's a live action, like, just a short that someone made. About. And it was just like
the bootleg.
Like, what if the Power Rangers were modern and they grew up and they were today? And like, I love that kind of stuff where it's like, it's like, let's just because let's the badassery of like, these, like, literal cartoons and literal kids shows, like, brought into the modern day. I'm not talking like,
but you know what it is. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, I'm not talking about like, I feel like a lot of times like people have tried that, but they keep it with the same energy, like the new like Dora movie and things like that, where they don't really reinvent the property. They kind of just like recreate it for modern kids.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about when you do that whole thing where you just completely like change the emotion and feel behind it to make it like like that's like a cool crossover or like a cool like you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I do know what you're saying. And I personally have been a fan of that, but I don't think I've been as big a fan of that as you, because there's a part that I think that's kind of corny, and
right.
And I think not only is it corny, but I think it's disrespectful to the source material.
Right. Oh no, I mean, I could definitely see that.
In my opinion,
could be, especially if not done properly. But that's
especially with something like the Power Rangers thing. I kind of didn't like it because it was too serious for me. I was like, Power Rangers is supposed to be fun.
Yeah, no, I feel you. I mean, but you'll have other people who are Power Rangers fans that will, absolutely love it. And you're always going to find,
which is why
a division between fans.
And honestly, I think that's the reason why a lot of old fans of, like, I know I'm bringing Fallout into this, but like this is the thought that just came into my head. Old fans of like the first two Fallout games when it was by Interplay, they're a little upset at the Bethesda games because it's such a different tone than the first two games. Like Fallout 3, a little bit of New Vegas, even though it was made by some of the people that originally did it. That's why New Vegas was a little bit more celebrated, because it wasn't all Bethesda.
Right.
Like Bethesda, if I'm not mistaken, they just did the publishing.
Right.
And
well, I think that, I mean, I agree with you that you can wind up becoming disrespectful to the source material and wind up deviating from the author's vision. And I think that
and in my opinion, I think Bethesda does that with the new Fallout games a little bit.
Yeah, I think that is a concern, especially in my opinion with things that were originally made for kids.
Same.
I do think
I agree.
And I'm not going to get into it because I'm not going to give my opinion on specific things. Whether or not you agree with what happened recently with SpongeBob, I do think that it was ultimately disrespectful to the original team behind it. I don't have a problem with it. I just think that it was done maybe a little bit in a not I feel like
poor taste.
It could be a little disrespectful, you know, and I think that I think that is a concern, I think it's especially with kid stuff, when it's stuff that's made for a younger audience, that you can wind up being disrespectful. But at the same time, definitely. I do want to say that after a certain time period, you know, like, art needs to evolve. You know what I mean? Like, I think that it, like I'm gonna go to traditional art for a second. You know, the like famous paintings are great and beautiful, but they're old and they're boring. And I'm being perfectly honest. Like, they're you can respect them and still say that, because obviously I respect traditional artists very much, especially the classical professional artists. And I'm talking, when I say classical, I mean, like, you know, like ancient, like, stuff. I'm talking like Starry Night. I'm talking like Michelangelo. Like obviously that stuff is to be respected, and you can admire that and think it's amazing and incredibly talented. But if someone wants to take the David statue of David and put it against a you know, punk cyberwave background and throw some crazy shapes in there, you know, do it. Like, is that being disrespectful? I don't think so. Like it's time for the art to evolve. If someone wants to redo Starry Night as a interactive video game, is that being disrespectful? I don't think so.
That's interesting,
because eventually art needs to evolve. It's not what the author originally intended, but as long as there is a sufficient, you know, modification to that work, and you're not just stealing other people's artwork or stealing people's ideas, you know, I think that it's okay for that art to be reinvented. And I think about, like, thinking about everything that we talked about, you know, making Mario go Super Saiyan, you know, making a new Power Rangers that's like for adults. You know, I think that all that's okay, because, you know, it's not, I don't think it's good for it to be done necessarily like in the immediate heat of the moment of the original art piece. But, you know, after people have time to appreciate the art, you know, I think it's okay for it to be reinvented by another artist, you know?
Yeah.
That's my opinion, though. You might completely disagree and think that you should never do that, but, you know, when it comes
I see where you're coming from, and I kind of agree. I just think that to a certain point, you have to consider the source material. You have to consider whatever it is you're doing. Like, for example, like, see, that's the thing, though. It's hard to do, because another thing that I would agree with you on, and you might agree with me, is saying that, like, if you have a property and you want to, like, revive it in some way, you want to at least, you want to capture the original audience that first grew up with it. And I feel like you have to consider that audience grows up and they become more mature, and they want to find a way to deal with, you know, mature themes, and sometimes bringing back an old show that helps alleviate that is kind of like, oh, well, you know, I mean, it's cool. Like, it's cool to do that. Like, but you have to find that good balance between, especially when it comes to kids stuff, that to keep it, like, kind of for kids. Because, like, it'd be cool if they did, like, you know, like a new Kim Possible with the same animators or whatever, where they're a little older and they deal with a little bit more older topics. But it would suck if it was for adults.
Yeah,
even though the fans of the show now are all adults, I think it would just be terrible for adults.
I think that time has a little bit to do with it, because I don't think, personally, I don't know when the last Kim Possible for kids came out, but personally, I don't think that there'd be a problem with that, because I feel like there's been enough time. I think about like Yogi Bear, right, and Flintstones. Like, there are no children who are associating those properties with anything anymore, except maybe Flintstones gummies. I don't know if they still make those, you know? And even then, but I think the kids would just be like, oh, isn't that the guy that's in the gummies? Like, they don't have any context of that being for kids, you know what I mean?
Right.
So
I know what you mean, but a show like, I agree with you, but like a show like Kim Possible does not work if it's not a kid show. You understand what I'm trying to say?
I think that an artist can reinvent it in a way that does that. I don't know if it would be good.
Right. That's
but
what
I
I'm
think
saying.
they could attempt it.
Yeah, you could do it all you want,
Right,
but like
right.
it has to be good. And in my opinion, in order for something like that, like Show Like
Is that just
Impossible,
because
or
the premise
even
is so corny?
exactly,
And they can't
because
take
it's like,
itself too seriously? Because
dude,
I
a lot
understand
of
it's not serious,
cartoons
yeah.
are like that.
Yeah, they can't.
Especially
they can't take
kids'
themselves
cartoons.
too seriously.
You can't because the moment you do that, it's like
it just becomes weird.
yeah, because like not only will you piss fans of the show off, you're gonna like turn off a lot of people who are trying to like want to get into it, and it's just like what kind of show is this?
Well, I guess
like,
going back to it, I was ragging on the Dora movie earlier, but I guess they did they did that exact thing. They wanted to make Dora modern,
and that's why I like that
they didn't
movie.
take themselves too seriously. With
and
it.
you can't,
and because
you can't.
The premise was so weird.
Exactly.
That
because
there's no real way to do it 100% seriously. Like you kind of have to have fun with it.
Right, because the moment you try to do that, you end up with a Super Mario Bros. Movie.
Bro, wow.
You understand what I'm trying to say?
Right there. That's facts.
The
That's
moment
true.
you take that kind of creative liberty, you risk good quality content, because I mean,
that's facts.
I mean, I kind of like the Mario Bros. Movie because it's so ridiculous and it's so not like
so bad it's good.
Yeah, it's so not like Mario that it's my favorite Mario like piece of media. It's just like this has almost zero to do with Mario.
It's so wildly different.
Yeah, exactly. But that's what makes it unique, and I feel like that's where like I feel like they went right. But of course, they went wrong is not because the script is kind of bad, the acting isn't great, and like it's not that good of a movie.
Right.
See, you and it's based on a property, so you end up with something like that.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah.
And that's why I feel like a lot of companies have to be careful when they do stuff like that.
Yeah, 100% correct. I mean, you said Mario, but you could name just about any video game movie.
Accurate.
Any movie that's based off a video game kind of suffers from the same thing, where they're trying real hard to recreate that experience, especially with games like Mario that are like not corny, but like more like not
for
super
kids.
Action games.
Yeah, they're for kids.
And people try to make action movies out of them. Like, it's like, what are you doing? And it just kind of
right. Part of the charm of content for kids, like Power Rangers, Mario, Kim Possible, those kind of things. Mm-hmm. Part of the charm of it is that it's simple, it's to the point, and you get why a kid enjoys this.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? Like you get
simple.
it.
It's not. You don't have to really think about it. It's not.
And that's part of the cleverness. That's part of the charm of it. And then the moment you take that away and substitute it for mature themes and ultra violence and cursing, you kind of lose the essence that the original source material has.
Yeah. Until
it becomes something completely different.
I think
don't make a dark movie and slap the name Power Rangers on it and expect me to watch it.
Right. I do think that Power Rangers might be close to a bad example of that, just because I think Power Rangers takes itself really seriously as a kids show.
No, it definitely does.
It has a lot of mature themes even in the kids show.
Yeah.
I would say it's kind of closer to a show for teenagers than it is for kids, because it kind of does address certain thing. Like I'm thinking about even in the first season, the big betrayal with the Green Ranger and stuff. Like I feel like that stuff can be a little bit above a kids show and does take itself a little seriously. So I think you can get away with a little bit more with properties like that than you can with something like Dora or Mario, or God forbid someone does like a live action Dragon Tales and tries to make an action adventure out of it, something like that.
Well, I mean, again, you could make that work. You just have to know the source material, and you just can't get rid of that
seriously.
Charm. Yeah, you have to keep that charm.
Yeah.
Part of the reason why I actually like the Dora movie is because it takes place in the same universe as the show. Which, spoiler alert, if anybody hasn't seen it, it's all in her head. But
oh, okay.
Yeah, so like, or at least it alludes to the fact that it takes place in the same universe.
Got it.
But like, there's that element of like the original Dora in there, and like, and it's like, oh, it's pretty cool, and it's like a goofy. It's not a great movie. It's not amazing, but it's a good movie. Like, It's like a good family adventure kind of movie thing, and it's like you understand
Right.
that you're watching a kids
It's not
movie.
it's not like the College Humor skit.
Yeah.
With
Although that would have been cool too.
Dora busting the drug dealers and stuff.
Yeah, that would have been cool too. See, again, that was relevant at the time.
That stuff, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Like, I love that kind of stuff.
Remember when they did the Legend of Zelda movie trailer? That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But that's one of those properties that you can take seriously.
Well, yeah, I mean, it takes itself
like
very
if you do
seriously.
like if you
Final
do like
Fantasy.
a Game of Thrones, like if you do a Game of Thrones style thing for Legend of Zelda,
sure.
it would work.
It's always been very much more geared toward the older crowd. So much so that Twilight Princess even got a T rating, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I wouldn't really count that as being a kid's property, you know. And that's what I mean. I feel like things, even if your property is not really a like super serious like action game, like, you know, like a Quantum Break or something, like I feel that even if it's geared a little bit more toward a mature audience, you can get away with a lot more if you are trying to reinvent it or move it from video games to screen, you know.
Yeah.
So, and I think that you can kind of see that in the movies too. And we're getting a little off topic here, but
that's fine.
I feel like
Doesn't
you can
matter.
kind of see that with. I think that the video game movies that do better are the ones that are games that are geared toward a more mature audience. That's my opinion. But from the ones that I can think of off the top of my head, you know, not that any of these are good movies, but like Resident Evil, Prince of Persia, even the Assassin's Creed movie, I would argue that they fared, in my opinion, a bit better than something like Mario. Because the source material was a little bit more edgy, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
A bit more adult, more relatable, I guess. I don't know.
So
but that's
when you
that's
put
the thing, though.
Those characters in a situation where they're like, you know, killing bad guys and stuff, it's a little less. It's a little like it can take itself a little more seriously because that's what the video game does. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Right. Well, I mean, I don't know. I can't really say much because I think that the Sonic movie was pretty good for a video game movie, and it's very clearly for kids.
Yeah, but it didn't. I would say the Sonic movie, I don't think it suffered from the Mario syndrome of trying to take itself really seriously and trying to be this like,
and
action or just trying to be something that it wasn't.
Right. Also, I think it was very successful because Sega was very closely involved with making it.
Let me tell you something. That redesign saved everyone.
Yeah, it really did. I don't care. Some people thought it was dumb. I'm just like, nah. Like, I was not gonna watch that movie with that ugly Sonic.
That redesign
I'm sorry.
saved everyone.
Facts.
And I'm glad that they listened, man. I'm glad that they listened.
Yeah, for real.
Bro.
I just hope that the new movies / shows that are based off video games are gonna be good. I know Mortal Kombat just came out. I haven't seen it.
I'm planning on watching that soon.
It looks good though, and it has pretty decent reviews.
Looks good. It kind of looks like it kind of to me has the feel of the stuff that I like that you say you don't like as much. Kind of like that, like
kinda
edgy, like
but like that's Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, it looks it looks super edgy. It looks like there's gonna be like some corny MacGuffin in part of the plot. Like, but I live for that. So
yeah,
I think I'm gonna have a good time.
I feel. I'm just hoping that the new stuff I know Elder Scrolls is getting a show.
Really? I knew Fallout was getting a show. I didn't know Elder Scrolls was as well.
Elder Scrolls is getting a show.
That could be good. Do like a game.
They have to do it right. Yeah, they have to do it right though. They have to get the lore right, and they can't throw too much at us.
Yeah, that's curious.
What else is getting? Last of Us is getting a show.
Yeah, with what's his name?
Pedro Pascal.
Yeah.
That's great casting.
That's great casting. That's
great casting.
I think it's gonna be good. I mean, I don't think it's gonna come even close to the original game.
Absolutely
as far as,
not.
Storytelling, because that game was a marvel to play. But I think it'll be interesting.
Yeah. What's that? What's that? Oh yeah, I saw Metal Gear Solid's getting a movie. I
Nice.
think
Nice.
with Oscar Isaac as Snake.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, that's also pretty good casting.
That's nice. Yeah. That'll be fun.
And he said in an interview once, I think it was like for Star Wars or whatever, and they were like, or some movie, and they were like, what character? The question was, what character would you want to play if they made a movie out of a video game? And then people were giving like basic answers, like, and then Oscar Isaac was like, I think Metal Gear Solid, and they were like, whoa, really? Who'd you play? And he's like, dude, Snake, of course.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, he's a gamer.
That'll be interesting.
It's so funny to see like celebrities like geek out over like games and movies and stuff.
Yeah, I'm
so
always
fun.
there for Henry Cavill talking about playing World of Warcraft.
And
a
The
bit
Witcher.
that doesn't get old to me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, that's so funny.
it was funny. Man, we got way off topic. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, we did, but it's all good.
We started with like Flash
There's a-
games. I just started
To
talking.
go back to Flash, so to like tie this all back up.
Yes,
into
bring us
Flash,
full circle.
you see what it's like when properties make different media based on certain media and how it cannot do well. But in the era of Flash, nobody really cared, and we just did whatever we wanted.
True.
And people were here for it because I think it was because it was like a new medium,
True.
a new way to experience content. And then all the kids who had those fan fictions in their mind, they're like, I can bring this to life now, you know, like,
Yep.
and that's what I think made Flash really, really cool and something awesome. And I think that's why it was a big part of a lot of people's childhoods.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
Because it fulfilled like their dreams. It fulfilled people's dreams of like,
Yeah. 100%. You know what's another Flash property that I just thought about? Flash game that is now no longer with us. That had a very sad departure. It was very wholesome and was not based on another property.
Yes, I know what it is. Club Penguin.
Yes, it is.
Rip.
Club Penguin, man. For anyone who doesn't know what we're talking about with that one, Club Penguin was a very early multiplayer game, flashed animation game, where you played as a penguin and you had like a little igloo, and it was kind of like a mobile game where like you play mini games, you can get points, and then you get like different decorations for your igloo, and you go around the map and there's all these little mini games that you can interact with and play with, but you could do it in real time with other people. And it was such a fun early free to play MMO, and it died with the
remember when a lot of online games were free to play?
Yo, bro, we could do an entire episode about that alone. But
yeah, for real,
it's true. It's true. There was a time back in the day when ads were not as powerful, and ad companies were not as big, and companies that made games were able to sustain those games a lot easier. And I think systems like Flash were a part of that, and just being able to run fun interactive games with very basic technology so that people weren't expecting super amazing graphics and stuff. Nobody cared about that. That allowed creators to make games for free significantly more often. And I'm talking like the majority of MMOs were free to play. There's still some free to play today, but they're mostly like shooters,
battle royale,
like that, battle royale games. But back in the day, you could run an actual fun MMO. I mean, you could try it today. The problem is that like the graphics are terrible for that kind of stuff. So you need to afford like, you know, better software, better servers and stuff. But you know, RuneScape, Maple Story, all of these games, all games like Club Penguins, you know, like great. I mean, it was an MMO. Like you could run those kind of games back in the day for free, and you didn't need ads. They could make enough revenue off of the few kids that were dumb enough to pay.
Yep.
And that was enough to keep it running.
Yep. Absolutely.
You know, back in the day. I may or may not have been one of those kids.
Yeah, I never paid for anything when it was always free.
I definitely paid for both RuneScape and MapleStory when I was a kid.
Nah, I'm not paying for none.
But, it's whatever. I had fun. It's over now.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
But it's true.
Now it's like dominated by actual gaming games and videos on YouTube.
But like I said,
stuff.
I think that's part of just because the costs have gone way up. Because it's not like back in the day. Like,
right.
I think you can actually still play RuneScape for free on like an app store.
Yeah, they still have it.
But that's because it's so simple and it looks not good. So for you to make a good game that's competitive, and popular, you have to spend more money, which means you have to either charge for it or shove it full of ads. So
yeah. Or like do like what Fortnite does, where like pretty much everything's free, but you have to like purchase skins and stuff.
Yeah, like paywalls for a lot of things.
Yeah,
for a lot of the content,
like Call of Duty, Fortnite, Battlefield,
or do
like those kind of games. Like you have like
boxes.
those little things where, crates and stuff.
Yep, things like that to help generate all the stuff, all the practices that we as gamers hate.
Yes.
That's what makes them money,
I have a buddy of mine who plays Warzone on Xbox.
Warzone.
And he's like actually spent money, like bought battle passes and like different guns. And I was like, first of all, yeah, I was like you're crazy spending money on a free game. First of all, like if the game's free, I'm playing it for free. I'm not spending money.
Right.
And also, if you spend money to buy extra stuff to boost you, you're cheating.
You're cheating.
I don't care what anybody says. You're cheating.
No, that's what they call it, man. Pay to win.
Yeah,
pay to win.
I hate that. Pay to play, pay to win, whatever.
But that's just how it is nowadays. Back in the day, we didn't worry about that.
Nope.
But nowadays, the times have changed.
It was either we bought games or they were online for free.
Right, and then once you bought the game, that was it. Like, you owned the game.
Yeah, exactly. You own it.
You don't have to worry about microtransactions or anything like that.
This dumbest
I bought the game.
DLC. DLC is another dumb thing, in my opinion.
Oh, well, okay. If the DLC is big enough, I don't mind paying for it.
Yeah, same.
If it's like
a whole new world,
whole new thing, I do not mind paying for it.
But I've noticed a lot of new games don't do that anymore. I think like
get the DLC and unlock the new multiplayer map. What?
Yeah, it's like 2015, 2016, like that era was like when games stopped doing that. They stopped making like whole new game things, game worlds and new they stopped doing that for DLC in like that era, like 2015ish, 2016, like that. That was a good. Those are the good years for games.
You'll still find a game every so often that will do that. But it's not the norm at all anymore.
Yeah, it's not as common. No. Like the only games I can think of that really did that were like the Batman games, the Witcher games, Fallout 4, Skyrim. Like those games, those games had that
from companies that really care about the game. They're the ones who will put in the extra effort to release a good DLC.
Yeah, even those companies like Rocksteady, Bethesda, CD Projekt Red, they really, really care about their games that they make.
Yeah. I would say God of War didn't do that, but I feel like that was, I don't know if you heard that, but that's actually part of their design process, that they didn't want to do any DLC. They wanted the entire game to be done when they shipped it. But I could see that company doing good DLC, if they wanted to. They wouldn't release like a shoddy DLC.
Right.
Also, another game that I just recently finished playing, Control.
I have it. I haven't really played through it though.
It's very good. I appreciate it very much. It's made by the same people that do Quantum Break and Alan Wake.
Yeah.
But they actually came to mind because they have 2 DLC that are decent sized. Like they add a new map. They add a new adventure. So it's like it has that feel of like, okay, cool, awesome, like more game content,
new stuff. See, like that's cool that the companies do that, but then you also have games that have that, and then they have mods that do that.
That is true.
Like they add new stuff.
That is true.
And that's especially true for games like Witcher or Skyrim, or Fallout, or even trying to think of another game that does that. The like super big modding thing. I mean, I would say Battlefront 2, but they don't really add quests, but they do add like a lot of skins and characters and Like certain games have really good mods.
Bethesda's really one of the few games that has a good modding support.
Yeah, that's probably why their games are like number 1 on Nexus.
Yeah, Witcher just recently got the ability to do quests.
I noticed that because I actually saw some quests on the Nexus for Witcher. I was like, oh, I might get Witcher now.
Yeah. But the modding community is not as large because the process is a lot more difficult. But
if I go on Nexus,
Bethesda just about like depends on, but they almost bank on the modding community to help keep the game going. You know what I mean? Like after what happened with Skyrim, they're like, oh, okay, this worked. Like,
yep, of course it did.
We kept the game alive for a decade.
Of course it did. And Bethesda knew that ever since Morrowind. Ever since Morrowind came out and they started doing mods,
you know, that's
true. They realized where their money was.
Yeah.
They realize that that's where the money is. Like, okay, we have to make these games this way with this engine so that people can make mods.
I don't think it was like the money as far as like them being able to profit off of it. I think it's just the ability to keep their game relevant for a long time is the reward they get for supporting modding.
Dude, Skyrim came out 10 years ago and I'm still playing it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. We literally have kept the game alive for a decade. And
exactly.
it wasn't Bethesda that did that. It was us, the modders. Who
facts.
Did that, you know?
Yeah.
But I mean,
I think Bethesda did have a little bit of a hand in it.
Well, no, yeah, that's what I mean. Like
so
Bethesda
accessible.
Bethesda made the content so that we could keep the game relevant.
Exactly.
And they're going to do the same thing with Fallout and all the other games moving forward.
And I think that I think that other game companies are going to follow suit. Like they're going to realize how great modding is. Like Cyberpunk just came out. I forget how long ago, like a few months ago, and there's like thousands of mods for it already. And I think that companies are starting to really realize and pick up on that, so they're making like games with certain engines, like the new Star Wars games are on the Unreal Engine, so mods are a little bit easier for that, because if you know how to use Unreal Engine, you could just import stuff.
Yeah, I think there's a level of that. I think that it's going to be a give and take. Some game companies might embrace that. Others might not. Because
I agree. I just think that more game companies are going to embrace it because the modding scene has only been growing.
Yeah. I mean, I think that it's at the point where game companies can't really choose to ignore it. But I do think that there will be some games that will want to be inherently protected against modding. A lot of PlayStation exclusives will be on that list. PlayStation does not want any exploitability in their software. So,
although they're risking exploitability by putting it on the market, because somebody's gonna figure it out.
Well, yes, but like it's the same reason why they don't allow third-party content or anything into their games, because they don't want it. They don't want to worry about getting in trouble for anything, and they don't want the ability to put stuff that's not native to the game into the game. Yeah. And so I do not see that changing anytime soon. But yeah, I think that a lot of companies will consider, supporting the modding community to allow the modding community to kind of keep the game going over time. And
and in my opinion, I think mods is like that old feeling of like taking, like I said, Mario and Super Saiyan, it's putting it together. I feel like mods are kind of keeping that kind of spirit alive with being creative with properties and
for sure
doing your own thing, telling your own stories, making new weapons, new gameplay mechanics, things like that. Like it goes to show you that the audiences of these things that are fans of a lot of different properties like to blend ideas together to make something really awesome.
Yeah, man. It's that fan fiction spirit.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's a good place to end the episode.
Yeah, for sure.
It was a good convo.
Yeah, man. Thanks for bringing it up. It was a good
for sure.
To talk about. We could keep talking about it, I'm sure, but
yeah, definitely.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
If anybody has any cool things with Flash that they remember, just let us know. Comment, share this video so we can get more popular.
Yeah.
And,
so we can get more popular.
Yeah. And we'll see you guys next time.
Yeah, we'll see you later, guys.